Hello and welcome to another episode of Fellowship of Essential Oils. My name is Adam. I'm joined, as usual, by the beautiful Liz. How are you, Liz?
I'm really well, thanks, Adam. It's so great to see you both today.
Yes, joining me on the couch today is a very good friend of both of ours, Vanessa Jean. Welcome to Fellowship in Essential Oils.
Hi,
welcome, lady.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So to give you a bit of context, Vanessa Jean is actually one of the people who introduced me to doTERRA Essential Oils, the range that I love. And she is visiting me here in Bahrain at the moment and has come to join us because today we're talking about frankincense. And when we think of frankincense, we think of Vanessa. It's probably your biggest love oil, isn't it, Vanessa?
Yes, yeah, I've had a torrid love affair with frankincense for a long time now. So very happy to have this conversation. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you two say about frankincense too.
Of course, yeah. For those that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you before, would you give them a 30-second rundown of who you are when it comes to essential oils?
Essential oils. So from the age of about 15, they really bounced into my life and started weaving their magic. And then in my early 20s, alongside studying psychology, aromatherapy came into one of those modalities that I knew I wanted to bring into practice and working with my clients. And, fast forward to today, I'm a clinical aromatherapist, have a penchant and passion for the subtle aromatherapy realm. And yeah, love just weaving magic, love weaving magic with people with essential oils. So is that quick enough?
That was quick enough. Yeah. That was perfect. Beautiful. So let's dive into frankincense, known as the king of the oils. And over the last few weeks, Liz, we've kind of been picking some random oils that you're like, oh, I haven't used that too much. But I'm guessing frankincense might get a bit more use from you.
It is one of my 20 that I say is in my healing clique. I absolutely love frankincense, but I am in a bit of a weird place generally with it because currently I'm writing a new book about myrrh. And one of the things that I was particularly interested in is trying to move it away from frankincense, because whenever you read something about it, it's inextricably linked historically and sometimes certainly spiritually. They're always locked together. So I've spent a lot of time going, no, you can stay over there. But I went to watch a play, a show over the weekend with my son, and you both know I don't like traveling, and I had to go on the underground and stuff, and so I came armed with loads of oils, and frankincense was definitely in there just to calm me down, because I was like, woo, out there with so many things to worry about with it. So yeah, it's nice to spend some time in its space again. Yeah.
And with your clients, would you find, where are you normally recommending frankincense from a physical level for?
So I always say that frankincense slows the breath, it opens the airways, and it restores elasticity. So elasticity we'll start with. So we might say frankincense and polyfiller is like a family joke in our house. So restores elasticity to the skin, but also to like the tendons. If you've got like tennis elbow or a sprained ankle or any of those things where it becomes stiff, frankincense restores that elasticity. Slows the breath, obviously, from a meditative point of view, but also asthmatic point of view, and a stress point of view. We see so many things where stress can manifest itself physically, and a lot of the time it's because we're not actually effusing properly with oxygen, and so frankincense is wonderful for that. And inflammation, generally I use it a lot for inflammation. What about you?
Vanessa, you probably use frankincense every single day. What are you using it for and helping others to use it for?
I do. Paul had a joke with me not too long ago going, babe, I'm just not sure anyone uses frankincense as much as you do. So Paul is my husband. So I have about 3 bottles on the go. So one stays in my handbag always, just like a 15ml bottle. And then I have one by my bedstand, and then one just, that's out there that's, regularly being diffused. And, when we look at it, like you've covered a bit of his, superpowers in terms of his chemistry, respiratory support and elasticity. And when we look at that, when we take a look at that take a step back and say, okay, so this is how, frankincense supports our physiology or our mental health. And, we take the physical chemistry and we look at it at a subtle level. Let's take inflammation, right? amazing for inflamed emotion. And particularly emotions that are stuffed down, where they've been repressed and suppressed, where family or society or the overculture has dictated, it's better you stay quiet. It's better you just shh. You know, in other words, shut down. Don't be who you were born to be. Don't shine too brightly. And frankincense is like this personally written invitation to shine, to be the magnificent you were born to be. So I call frankincense God's grace in a bottle. And I believe that frankincense supports us as the metaphysical beings that we are. And to your point about it being inextricably linked with myrrh, I always say if frankincense was to have a queen by his side, it would be myrrh.
Absolutely.
They work so beautifully together, you know. And when we look at the resins as a whole, you know, we've seen them used in temple and church spaces and helping with the passage of those who have passed away to, you know, whatever the belief is of that particular church or cathedral or, you know, a temple. So it's an incredible, well, they both are such incredible essential oils to support us in seeing what is unseen, beyond the veil, in other words, you know, to go deeper. And I feel like humanity can so be supported by that right now, you know, with the rampant lies that surround us and have surrounded us for centuries, quite frankly. But it's like humans are waking up and wanting to remember, like, who am I in all of this? So if frankincense was to help you to rise and shine and own your strength, your presence in the world, in terms of maybe a divine masculine element, I don't like to separate them, but let's just make it easy for a minute. And myrrh was to bring those same elements from the gift of the divine feminine. You bring them together and they're the reminder that it's all one anyway.
Yep.
It's all one. And that remembrance of oneness, I feel, is such a, you know, if these essential oils could don a cloak like a superhero, that would be one of the things. The resins like copaiba, we'll throw in here as well, remind us of our divinity. Frankincense, myrrh, copaiba, they're reminding us of that alemi, because they come from the core of this tree, the essence, the blood, the tears, the truth. And so for me, frankincense is the reminder to come back to our truth. Myrrh is the restoration of that. And copaiba is, let's go, know thyself. Who are you in all of this? So I love that there's this deep link with the resins. I love how they weave so beautifully together. I love how they work on our skin so deeply. Like they're going on my skin every day. Frankincense, I literally place in carrier oil with other essential oils, and I am aromatically dressing in frankincense every day. I am anointing my pulse points with frankincense. I'm placing it at my occipital, you know, for brainstem support. I am massaging the vagus nerve, accessing either sides of the neck with the frankincense. I'm massaging frankincense up and down my spine, the spine of my incredible daughter who's challenged, you know, with the stresses of being a teen and someone embarking onto young ladydom. And also, you know, strains of study. She's writing a book. She has physical body pain and challenges at different times, you know. And I've certainly sold my husband on frankincense. It's an everyday use there too. So that's just some of the appreciation, the gratitude I can pour on frankincense and working with the resins as a whole, and why you know, you say it's in your top 20, it certainly is for me as well. Like it's kind of like, you know, when we have those desert island scenarios, there was just one oil you could take. That's so difficult, isn't it? And I often keep coming back to frankincense, and I ask myself why. Because, you know, for a lot of people, frankincense isn't necessarily the most exquisite scent. It's not like a rose dancing up your nostrils. And yet I love frankincense. Why? I think because I have such a strong aromatic anchor. to all things good and wholesome and expansive with frankincense. I feel like this is a direct line to the divine, and I come home with frankincense, that oneness where there's no separation, there's no polarity. It just is the great I am. And in that space, it's pure unconditional love. So I feel like that's why it's kind of like, okay, if there was only one, it'd be Frankie Boy.
I think if you go back to like the Egyptian, there's quite a lot written about frankincense in the Egyptian stuff. And they talk about how it's the encapsulation of the sun, you know, how the sun has been trapped in that, and that idea of that you're talking about, how it takes you back to source. You know, you don't get a better symbol of source than the sun, do you?
No, definitely not. And I think also talking about that divine masculine aspect, it's really beautiful to look at everyone's individual relationship with the masculine versus the divine masculine. And I think there's a lot of women and a lot of men that have maybe had a poor experience with a masculine energy in their life. Maybe they didn't get along with their father. Maybe they've had a violent or a dominating boss or something in their life. And so we tend to throw the baby out with the bathwater and avoid all things masculine. But regardless of what gender we identify as, we need to find a safe and empowered masculine feminine within us, just like the moon and the sun dance in the sky together. So for me, the divine masculine is actually exemplified by how we actually get frankincense. So frankincense, we know it's a resin, but the resin doesn't come to the surface naturally. Normally, the tree is injured and then it comes to heal that wound. So it's a healer. So when we look, how do we get the essence of frankincense, or how do we get the goodness from frankincense trees? The tree allows itself to be vulnerable, and that's how we get the gift. That's how we get the gold. So when we think about the masculine, a true divine masculine, an empowered masculine, a grounded, balanced masculine, is not that one that has that stiff upper lip or that macho man. It's more that man or that warrior that is brave, not just physically, but also willing to be emotionally vulnerable. And I think we would all agree that it takes more courage to actually be brave on the emotional level and the honesty and the open level, rather than to act out of that fear or that yearning for power or anything like that. So what frankincense allows us all to do is to connect with that solar aspect, that aspect that encourages us that we must grow, we must expand, we must evolve, but then we bring the feminine in, because without that heart that the feminine brings in, the caring and the nurturing, our projects and what we're doing in our life have no heart, have no meaning. We get to the end and they don't fulfill us in that way. So I think looking at frankincense it gives us the courage to be vulnerable and to be open and to be the warrior in our lives is a really nice lesson that frankincense can teach us and can help us with. And I find those that have a repelling to the aroma of frankincense are normally denying the divine masculine in their life somehow, either accepting it in themselves or accepting it with something that's happening in their lives as well.
You're recapping on something that we've just been talking about in another video. Helen Nagel-Smith and I were just talking about synesthesia. We're going to do a workshop about being able to like sort of cross-reference on other senses, and we were talking about this idea of putting an oil that feels like a man on a young girl that has been traumatized, and you know, and if you haven't really tapped into that feeling of, well, is it masculine or is it feminine? But when you think of what a man feels like, for the most of us, it doesn't feel like frankincense, and yet it is definitely a masculine oil. You know, it's much gentler, as you say, than the alpha male that we think of, that we're being portrayed in films and stuff like that. You know, it's protective, it's nurturing, it's comforting. You know, it's like I wouldn't even say it was like a big hug, because that's more like Betty Bear. It's so serene, isn't it? Beautifully pacifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we look archetypally, it's the healthy king archetype. Whereas most people don't even have that association with this archetypal force. It can be quite destructive. It can be quite conquering. It can be quite, I am, and what I do, and what I say, it ends and begins with me. So what frankincense reminds us of the healthy masculine, the healthy divine masculine that lies within all of us. And, you know, the resins are such restorers, right? Such divine restorers, because they understand wounding. They understand deep wounding. They are wounded, whether it's copaiba being tapped or frankincense or myrrh being, you know, with a machete, that incision point, they are wounded. So they understand that. So they work so deeply. It's their innate strength, innate ability, the innate gem within them to understand deep wounding, and wounding that can be quite unyielding as well. So someone may have experienced something when they were young, and decades later, it just begins to rise to the surface. And the resins come into work very harmoniously with that. Like you said, they're not in your face. It's not like a peppermint oil, right? It's in your face and kind of like slap, slap awake. Let's go. Energy time, you know. These come in at a very subtle, very gentle level, and they work with you in your own time. So frankincense is very much about that, you know, this too shall pass, and I shall stand by you throughout the passages of time. Breath by breath, step by step, we'll move through this together. I have you, I've got your back. So it's that gentle on the lower back. You know, I agree, it's not the hug, it's just that I'm here. Frankincense isn't trying to take over. It's not trying to take an experience away from you. It understands you need to learn from this. You receive this kernel of gold from this dark night of your soul that may last a day or a week or a month or years. But you will be reborn from this place because your soul knows the way.
I think as well, you know, when you pierce the bark, what you get is obviously a different colour to what you get with myrrh. Myrrh's like a reddish brown. You get a milk with frankincense, don't you? And it is the milk of human kindness. You know, it does feel kind when you know, and the way that it slows the breath down. I used to be a scout leader, and we always used to say, you only go as fast as the slowest person. You know, and that's what sets the pace. And frankincense is very good at kind of going, we're setting the pace, you know, just take it as slowly as you need to take it. And that is a really reassuring thing when you're going through a healing thing, because I mean, we don't really talk about it that much on here, but there is definitely a thing called a healing crisis where somebody gets shifted and it's like, I feel terrible. Everything feels worse than it was. I don't think this is working at all. It is, but it's very hard to persuade somebody through a healing crisis. You don't get that with frankincense at all, because you don't have that shove off the corner, off the edge of a cliff that like sweet basil does. You know, she properly goes, sort it out. It just goes right as slow as you want to go.
Absolutely. And it's that reminder also, you know, for people on this journey, just even the simplicity of someone who is wanting to embrace, let's say, meditation or mindfulness practice, someone going through actually connecting with their breath. Frankincense, we know frankincense's chemistry is going to enhance that. Slow down the worrisome thoughts, the monkey mind, the 64,000 thoughts churning through the mind, slowing it down. Breathing peace, breathing tranquility in. We know frankincense is also very grounding and earthing. You know, we're looking at a powerful bass note. And, you know, in a melody that we weave a synergy, we can go bass to mid note with frankincense, right? So no matter where it's placed in the blend, in the synergy we're creating, frankincense is going to hold it together just like it holds us together through our turmoil. You know, because every day is different, and frankincense shows up by our side for whoever and whatever it is we're showing up for. It's that reminder that we need to actively choose every day, choose to rise in love, choose to be who we're born to be, choose to remember to trust our soul because our soul knows the way, choose to align with Creator. Because if frankincense is like the direct line to the Creator, you know, like jumping in an elevator, hitting the penthouse suite, and boom, hello. Hey, Creator, here I am. If it is that, then we need to have the presence of mind, body, spirit, emotions, the presence to be able to sit in the presence of that higher intelligence, that unconditional love, and to remember who we are in that moment so that we can be it, So frankincense is also about that embodiment, the embodiment of who we were born to be. We need to be reminded of this, right? Because our soul remembers, but our human self is like, oh, look at that sparkly thing, I'll get distracted. Oh, isn't Adam wonderful? I wish I could be like him. And oh, I wish I knew what Liz did in the comparison. And we lose our way. Frankincense is going, breathe, pause, remember. All right. And speaking of pause, I don't know about you, Liz, but for menopause and perimenopause, my goodness, what a potent ally frankincense has been for me. The brain fog, the forgetfulness, the losing myself, the who am I now, the physical change in my body, all of it. Right. So it's that pause. Remembrance, yeah. And I know rosemary is always associated with remembrance, but I tell you what, frankincense takes me into the layers of remembrance, that deeper core I am that I am.
Yeah, I think that frankincense is more like rosemary is more about remembering. I've got to do that. I've got to remember that fact, all of those things. Whereas frankincense is more about, I just remember who I am. This is a much quieter spiritual thing. And I have to say, while I completely respect the way that you use frankincense, for me, it's one of those that's put aside for special occasions, for when things are really bad for me. And, so particularly, I should say, for colds, for children's colds, because eucalyptus is contraindicated for little ones, because it 1/8 oil slows the breath. So we always use frankincense in our house for colds. If we have like a traumatic situation, or when we're meditating. And the reason why I say that is because it's really hard, I find, to be present in this sacred space if I use it all the time, because that smell association is what takes me there. This is a holy time for me. But the other thing that I use frankincense resin for, not the essential oil, is when I'm smoking the bees. I always put resin in the smoker so they're really tranquil.
Wow.
Yeah. So the smell when I'm smoking the bees is incredible, because it is incense, but they are so peaceful when they've got it. Yeah.
And of course, I should point out that many people would have probably first experienced frankincense, maybe not as an essential oil, but in many churches around the world, it is the resin or the sap of the tree that is burnt in many churches. When you see the priest walking around with that smoking thurible or censer, that's actually frankincense there. So I know for some people it reminds them of those experiences as well. When you're using frankincense in the ways you just talked about, Liz, are you normally using it by itself, or are you adding it to other essential oils in a blend?
I do blend frankincense quite a lot, but like, for example, if Dexter's got a cold, he's got a specific teddy bear. He'll not thank me for saying this now, he's 14, will he? But still, it's a specific teddy bear where there's one drop on the top of his head, and that's enough, But I do really like it in blends. So, like, for example, if somebody's hurt, got, as I say, tendonitis, then I'll mix it with lavender and juniper or Roman chamomile for the inflammation. So I do layer it like that. But, one drop in the bath just is so serene, just to calm me down. So a bit of both, really. What about you?
I know. Well, I was just thinking, with such its complex chemistry, we have other oils that may be, like our birches or our wintergreens that are primarily methyl salicylate. So they're kind of good for that muscle release and tight muscles and that type of thing. Whereas frankincense does have a lot of different constituents in it. So it does. We kind of have a bit of a saying, when in doubt, get Frankie out, because he's going to have something that's going to help in that way. So adding a little bit to blends can enhance in that way, and we do tend to, superpower it a little bit in that way. Yeah. I find really he's got a really great all-rounder that if you're not too sure, you probably can't go wrong with frankincense. Would there be any times when you wouldn't use frankincense? I know you like to use it for those special occasions, and I totally get why that would happen.
There's no contraindications. It's a really benign oil. For me, I can be funny about these things anyway. I'm like it about spikenard as well, that if it comes at a high cost to the environment, then I feel a responsibility to be, you know, more careful around it. And so I do feel like that about frankincense, but I don't think, like, so for example, patchouli is one of those oils that where somebody says to me, it's great for that. And I can always say, yeah, but that would be equally as great, you know, and I can always find another oil that can do the job as well. With frankincense, nothing slows the breath as well. Nothing restores elasticity as well. Nothing takes you into a sacred space as well. So for me, that's 1, 2, 3 reasons to use it. Anything else, I would probably go, if you can think of another oil, please use it to preserve these trees, because they are definitely being over harvested big time. And I feel, you know, the less I use it, the more, the fewer bottles I buy can only help. If everybody felt that way, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think, you know, with the alignment we have, I mean, of course, I work with different essential oils from different companies. With doTERRA, I understand that they do give the frankincense trees periods of rest, which is essential to a lot of people.
It is really essential, yeah.
You know, so in that way, I align quite profoundly with this particular frankincense, and that's why I understand the ethical side of it, and that it is a precious resource. And I think also, I guess what I'd say to the viewers and listeners is, you know, what is it for you that frankincense is going to fulfill or fill the void of, or, you know, enhance? Because for me, I'm very mindful right now that I just want my life to feel like a song of devotion. So frankincense fills that for me. So whether I'm just putting a little dab on my pulse points, or I'm, you know, just breathing it in and then placing what's left on my hand over my heart, whatever it is, I can't see that I'll ever have a day without frankincense, because it is such a powerful aromatic anchor. I do agree that less is more. I'm not using 10 and 20 drops at a time. I don't believe anyone needs to do that. Even in terms of skincare, you know, it's always just 1 or 2 drops in a blend for me, you know, I'm aromatic dressing or making a rollerball. And just going back to what you were talking about with the, you know, the eucalyptus and frankincense, because, you know, we know the 1,8-cineal can be too much for children. It also can be for some adults that are compromised.
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
Right. So it is for my husband, right? So for, you know, for working with frankincense and, you know, maybe combining it with something like cedarwood and some Roman chamomile, they all have that anti-inflammatory effect. They're working with a bit of cardamom and still inviting the deeper breath, inviting that support for the lungs, let's say, physical lungs, the meridians. So I find that with frankincense, even just like a little touch on the crown, you know, you are tapping into that infinite gratitude along with that connection that we're brought, that it brings us to, you know. So I feel like I really hope everyone's listened to what you said about frankincense and the preciousness of this, and also that it can be something you lean into daily.
Yeah, I think there's times in our lives. Yeah, I think there's definitely, we'll go through times in our lives where times are easy and then times are not so easy.
Yeah.
And then I think the times when, if times are easy, the less that you use essential oils, the more benefit they have when you do need them. Although I do believe also, which is conflicting, that the power is like cumulative over time. But I think to a certain extent, I don't believe that we become tolerant of them, but I think that the body it has a shift, you know. Suddenly you introduce something new and you move quickly into a new space.
Yeah, I understand.
I think you'd be right in saying that, you know, with any essential oil, just like we don't go to the doctor and they give us an antibiotic and go, I have that when you get home, you'll be fine. They say you need to do a course of antibiotics to allow that to support that kind of healing. You may need to use frankincense for 2 to 3 weeks to support you with something that you've got a challenge with physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But then maybe it could be time for letting someone else come in and have another, you know, another oil work with you for that time.
And I do think that when you know, as you know, majority of the work I do these days is inhalation work. And I do think that if you do sort of a week or 2 weeks, then your body has shifted enough to go, I want to go on a different quest now. You know, And I think, yes, cedarwood is a beautiful oil to take over the journey for frankincense, because you're already in a very quiet place. Why would you give, going back to Rosemary again, she shouts in your ears, you know, you wouldn't go from that quiet place to that, you know.
Yes.
It's that trickle, just gentle movement towards whatever you are moving towards.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, I think also just to remember how incredible these oils, the resins in particular, are for the skin. It's the largest organ of our body. Like if you're looking to feed and nourish your skin, make a master blend with a drop or two of frankincense in that blend. You know, maybe you want to add some of the tansies, or, you know, like a blue tansy and some yarrow and some beautiful, deep, nourishing carrier oils, and I don't know, chamomiles, rose. Like bring in these oils that you love for skincare, make a master blend and just add that to your regime. You know, I think sometimes people forget, they're just like bang, 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 bang with the bottle every day. It's like, don't do that. Just wait. Just let that be part of the devotion, part of the gratitude. Just tip that bottle of oil and let it bless you. Let it bless you. Let yourself smell it. Like I feel like people are in such a rush these days. They're putting diffuser blends on. They're doing all the things. They're doing all the things they're being told to do. Just pause, slow down, lift the lid off the bottle, and just spend some time. That might be it, just that moment there, because olfaction is so overlooked, right?
Yep.
Because we have to stop. We need to pause, right? So just, is this it? Are you wanting to weave in my diffuser today? Are you wanting to be part of my pulse point layering? Are you in my aromatic dressing? Are you in my bath? Or is it just this? So that communication with the spirit of the plants is vital. If we can do that, we actually attune our inner ear to listening to A, what our body needs, and B, who wants to be our ally.
I think also, just to be clear, because we do say listen to the plant and tune in our ear. That is exactly the vocabulary I would use. But actually, for those people who are going, I can't hear it, you know, that it is sometimes for some people it might be a very sensory thing of just like, God, I think I want that in my bath. You know, you might not hear it in your head, but certainly your body will respond to the fragrance to tell you what to do.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. Thanks, Liz. A journey that I'll help take people on, whether they've been using oils, you know, for years or just beginning, is take the lid off the bottle or the bottles if you're creating a blend. And something that's effective is close your eyes down just to kind of minimize that, the senses, right? The sensory connection. And I just say to them, see, feel, sense in the way that you do where that essential oil is going in your body and how you feel. How does your body respond? How does your mind respond? How are your emotions responding? Because the thing is if we can cultivate the art of just pausing to just tune in a little, we can actually feel in a different way, get a sense of in a different way, is this the one I'm journeying with? Or how is it? Or what this is going to be as an aromatic anchor for me? Because some people smell frankincense and they'll feel it straight in the brain, in the mind. I feel calm. I feel like my thoughts just slowed right down. Others go, wow, I felt that in my heart. I felt like I wanted to cry. It's great for grief, great for, you know, unresolved emotions. Others are like, ooh, that went like right down into me. I just feel so grounded. It's the same oil, myriad responses. They're all as valid as each other because we are all made up of different emotions and we're going to respond differently in the moment when we work with them. So if you can cultivate the practice of sitting with an essential oil and one at a time before you start blending them and notice how you feel, notice how you respond, notice what comes up. Notice the big gulp you take rather than letting the emotion, you know, it's like it's a journey. Let it be a journey. I love that idea of a couple of weeks, you know, Adam talks about, just have a monogamous relationship with the oils, just one at a time, one at a time. Whereas me, I come in and joke and go, oh, you know, maybe I'm polyamorous with essential oils. I love to blend them. You know, I love to love. I love to blend them. And that's not to say I don't love sitting one by one with them. It's just, I'm just so in that. That's part of my devotion, part of my daily devotion. I'm connecting with the spirit of the plants and honestly always connecting with the earth. I'm just listening for that song. That's just me. Someone else will receive that differently. So yeah, thank you for pointing out that it's not, when we talk about hear it, it's not like with the ear. You might hear it through your fingertips. You know, you're receiving this sensory feedback in your own unique way. Listen to that. Listen to that. Listen to your body. It will guide you.
It's something that we use a lot in Melissa medicine of this, and I hadn't really learned it in aromatherapy, to be honest. And it's something that we'll be doing a lot on my workshop this weekend that I'm doing with lavender, of just feeling how your body speaks in a different way. You know, your body speaks your mind quite a lot of the time. And it's very hard to explain until you've actually done it yourself. But yeah, as you say, just sitting quietly with the oil and just allowing it to move through your body and see what thoughts come up, because it's almost the opposite to meditation, where you're saying quieten your mind down. You're letting just seeing what comes to the surface. You know, what does this make me think about?
Yes, yeah.
That also reminds me of Mel, you mentioned lavender. Do you have a favourite trio blend that you've probably been teaching for a little while? Do you want to share that with everyone?
Yeah, so probably for the last 30 years. I mean, I think everyone knows it by now anyway. I think most of us have used it, but just that combination of frankincense, lavender, and wild orange, or sweet orange. Wild orange is sweet orange. And the song that they weave for me, I have found, is so foolproof and has served so many of my clients. As a holistic therapist, as an aromatherapist, as a retreat facilitator, just as a practitioner of the holistic arts. There is something about that synergy that moves mountains in the quietest ways and also some of the most powerful ways. And I'm not sure exactly that I can articulate what it is. It's something I witness as I hold that trio under people's noses, just smelling it, please, just smelling it. As I hold that trio under their noses and I guide them the way I said before, just notice how you feel. Notice where these essential oils move in your body. Notice how you respond. And it's been powerful. It's like, it's one of those blends I can say to people, it's foolproof. You don't know what else to blend, go to those.
To what end are you using that blend then? As a relaxation or?
So for each person, it honestly has different responses. For some, it's very relaxing. For others, they feel so uplifted and inspired to engage in life again. For others, they feel like, okay, writer's block's gone, I'm back in touch with the muse, right? So that's what I mean. I can't really explain it. It just weaves its magic and unearths or helps them to connect with whatever it is they're needing in that moment. You know, it's like when grace rushes in, right? We can't explain it. We just feel it. And with that trio, such a simple trio, like sweet orange, lavender angustifolia, frankincense, it's just such a simple trio. It feels crazy. It could be so much fancier. And yet that's simplicity. And it's interesting because for me, I'm so about simplicity. I don't care to fancy things up. I don't care if people know what I know, how intelligent, it's not important. It's about simplicity. And the more we can simplify our lives, the more we can return to our natural state of joy, reclaim that birthright, and live more connected in our heart space so that we're heart-centered, we're led by love. And I feel like that trio, I don't know, it reminds us of our magnificence. It reminds us that love is all there is. It reminds us of that joy. It reminds us of the expansiveness of the void, of the infinite realm of possibilities, the quantum field, if you like, that we can dip into at any time and choose our version of ourselves, our day, our year, our life, right? Yeah.
So sorry, go on, Liz.
No, go on.
I was just going to say frankincense is definitely one that I think everyone needs to have in their their clique of 20 or their top family, even if it's not, whether it's every day or just on those special occasions. He's definitely got gifts to give to all of each and every one of us in this world. I think with, when we look at the leading cause of death of humans on this planet, it's due to inflammation. It used to be infectious diseases, but we've got that sorted now. And inflammation causes cancers and diabetes and asthmas, and even I've found in people diagnosed with depression that parts of the brain are actually inflamed. And frankincense is renowned for its anti-inflammatory properties. Somehow working him into your life is going to be supportive in that way. And when we look at, maybe then take that to the next level of the issues we have in this world, often people become inflamed opinions, inflamed attitudes, inflamed anger. The masculine we were talking about before, when that is inflamed, that's where war starts. That's where that aggression starts. And so I think he's such a valuable tool for each of us to treasure in our homes, but also to remembering, like we were saying before, if we need more lavender, we whack some more lavender plants in the ground, and with 1 to 2 years, you've got it. 30 or 40 years, these trees, and I know, and her name has escaped me, but there is this amazing scientist that is doing some work in the regions where frankincense is native about actually growing new seedlings of frankincense trees, which is a really interesting read to see. But that's a 30, 40, 50-year project. They're not going to get frankincense next year from it. So we all in this generation really need to value what we have and what's available and make sure that it is sustainable for sure.
There was a statistic, which I'm not sure is actually accurate, but it definitely sort of galvanized the feeling for me. For a while, it was saying that if we carried on using frankincense at the rate that we are now, there wouldn't be any more trees in 50 years' time. Well, I think that probably has been debunked now, but I don't think it's that inaccurate. We have been over-farming it tremendously. But on the nature of debunking myths, if it's all right with you, I would like to talk about frankincense and cancer, because I have so many emails, and it's the thing I hate most about my job. And it is, because the amount of emails I get off people saying, my mom's been diagnosed with cancer, my aunt's been diagnosed with cancer, blah, blah, blah. How do you use frankincense essential oil to treat cancer? Because it's circulating so much. And so I would like to address that now if I could. So actually, the university that's been researching frankincense for cancer is not located that far away from me. It's about an hour down the road. And they have established that boswellic acid will kill cancer cells, lots of different types of cancer cells, in a petri dish. So not in a human yet, only in a petri dish. So the first thing to say is that when it hits blood, that's going to cause problems. But also, boswellic acid does not appear in the essential oil. So it is a very large molecule. So if anybody doesn't know how to distill, I'm sure everybody does here, but just in case. So steam is passed through plant matter. And so the molecules evaporate into the steam. Then it's cooled in a coil and we get like water, and we get essential oil on the top. But it has to be quite a small molecule to be able to do that journey. And boswellic acid isn't. It's an enormous molecule. And so the molecule remains within the resin. It doesn't pass into the essential oil. So it's very, very hard. Literally, I get 3 or 4 every single week, repeatedly saying this to people, that frankincense essential oil does not treat cancer. As yet as we know, that's the important thing to say. There are so many important molecules within it. You touched on it yourself. So many terpenes, without looking at any other groups, which may go on to be proven to do something. But at the moment, there isn't proof. And so please don't set aside your options to do chemotherapy and all of those things that the doctors can prove can help some cancers for something that is a myth. It is not true.
Can I add to that, Liz? Thanks. So I think maybe what would help our viewers and listeners to understand is that disease as Adam said, is created through inflammation, but that's also an inflammation of stress, of emotions, So in fact, it can be said that frankincense will be your way shower through the emotional pain and the turmoil and the grief of whatever dis-ease assails you. And we know statistically that with a reduction of stress and supporting the nervous system, endocrine system, enhancing the breath through mindfulness practices, all of this can help us as we're journeying through those dark times, right, of disease, of whatever malfunction is showing up in the physical body. So in this way, we can see frankincense then as an ally to support us, something to hold our hand, to come back to the breath. We know if we breathe deeply, we're going to be less stressed. We're going to increase oxygenation to the brain and the cells. We're going to support our overall well-being through breathing, just as much as we know through hydration. We're going to die without water. We're also going to die without the breath. So if we can start to see frankincense as an ally in that way, let yourselves be more empowered to know that at the end of the day, there's nothing, I'm sorry, but there's nothing that's going to heal you, full stop. It's not just one thing that's going to heal you. The path to healing, which is the return to your wholeness, is multifaceted, right? So you'll have practitioners that are supporting you, you'll have yourself supporting you, and it does begin with you. You need to decide if this is the path I want to take.
Yep.
Is this the route? Do I even want to live through this? Do I want to live and thrive? Because sometimes that dark night of the soul takes us into a really dark place. And I know from experience how much frankincense can help us when our energy is flat. It's, that depressed, energetic heaviness on us. Frankincense can support that. So maybe the more accurate thing is to look at the whole picture when we have been diagnosed with something, that it hits us. It hits us hard. Yep. Especially with the view of this could be the end of my life if it's one of those diseases. So, things like frankincense can support us to our self-care journey, nourishing ourselves again, feeding ourselves with that bit of love, that divine connection, rather than being in a disempowered state, like I need this to heal this, to cure this. Just pause, come back, and make intelligent choices that serve the whole you. It's not one thing, there's a package that's going to support you on this journey.
And as we going back to what we've said before, the whole thing with frankincense is it makes you feel comforted. It makes you it allows you to feel like God is with you. And if there were ever a time in your life when you need that, then it is that time. And so inhaling it or using a little bit in a bath, or a little bit weak dilution for massage, all of those things are wonderful, but it's a complementary therapy, not an alternative therapy.
Yeah, it's an integrative therapy or complementary, like you said. We can integrate it into what we're doing. I mean, we could say, some people would say chant your way through it to stress relief. Others would say go for a walk in nature. Maybe it's a combination of all of it. Change your diet. And it's not just the big C either. We're talking about any dis-ease in your body, anything that's taking you away from feeling whole and the truth of who you are, the essential oils, good food, great nourishment, exercise, time in nature. It's all going to help you return to your natural state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we normally end each episode with a bit of discussion on the chakras and the astrology. It's not a mistake that I'm wearing purple today. For me, frankincense will be a crown chakra essential oil. For you, Liz?
Yes, brow and crown chakra, yeah.
Yep. Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree with crown and definitely anoint my brow. I also really love working with my zeal chakra with frankincense as well. I just found this, which is also known as the mouth of God, for that connection. It's underused. I've been known to use it with soul star chakra. I'm not as definitive of these two, you'll hear, viewers and listeners. I am very intuitive and I just tune into what I need at the time. But it's definitely, shall we say, the higher chakras. Yeah. Yeah.
And astrologically, for me, frankincense resonates with the sun. I think he is that divine masculine, that shining, that illumination. Liz?
Sun and Jupiter.
Yep. For that expansion as well.
Yeah. Higher mind, spirituality, authority, divine masculine. Yeah.
Love it. It's not my jam, so I won't respond to that, but I can definitely feel the solar presence.
Yeah. Now, this episode's obviously coming out on a Monday. It's an exciting weekend if you're in certain parts of the world. This is our opportunity to do a bit of shameless self-promotion. First of all, Liz, you hinted something about you and lavender. Do you want to share with everyone, if they happen to be in the UK, what they can do?
This weekend will be the culmination of many, many, many months' work. So, Australian aromatherapist Debbie Atterby is currently, she's in Edinburgh actually, and she's heading down to me tomorrow. And the two of us are doing a 2-day workshop called Mastery and Mystery, which is focusing on 2 oils, lavender on Saturday, eucalyptus on Sunday. And Deb will be talking about all the indigenous learning that she's done around the oils or the plants, and about some of the stories attached to the different plants. And then I will be doing some bee shamanism work for us to help to learn more about the plants. And of course, as nobody knows more about lavender than bees. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. We're having a party on the Friday beforehand in my garden, surrounded by the roses. So it's going to be so nice to see everybody after all of these months. I'm really looking forward to it. It is on my link tree. So if anybody does want a last minute booking, let me know. What are you two up to?
I was just saying that you'll find that link tree in our description, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening through one of the podcasting apps. Mine Liz's link trees are there every week, so you can find that. You're leaving Bahrain. You're off to somewhere else in the Middle East this weekend.
Yeah, I'm off to Dubai for the weekend. So anyone who's out that way, come hang with me. I have a beautiful residential retreat starting Friday, or for those that are local, you can come along Saturday and attend the days with us. So that's Dubai this weekend, and Adam will link you all. And then I also have a month in the UK.
Yes.
So that beautiful southwest coast of England. I'll be specifically in England this time. So running lots of retreats, day retreats, and yummy oily goodness, like just really connecting with the spirit of the plants and nature and some of the sacred sites. So if you want to know more about that, connect with me. I'd love to have you along. Yeah.
Now, in the theme of bring a friend to the episodes, you're bringing a friend next week, Liz.
Yeah, Deb and I, if we're not dead after the weekend. Yes, so for those of you who don't know her, Deb's one of the foremost aromatherapists in Australia. She runs the Australian conferences. Got a fantastic book about Australian oil profiles. So when we asked her what she wanted to do, she went, pineapple myrtle. I was like, I don't know. So anyway, I got a new oil out of it, so that was good.
Have you started working with it yet, Liz?
Yeah, well, a little bit, but obviously I have to keep my brain focused on what I'm doing. So I have to be careful not to invite too many to the party. But yes, I do like it. So I will have some things to say, but she has lots to say, and I'm hoping that you will too.
Yes, very much. I love that oil, and being an Australian native, anything from Australian oils, are dear to my heart, close to my heart. So that's what we'll do next week. From frankincense, probably one of the best known oils in the world, to pineapple myrtle, maybe a little secret from Australia, will be next week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us today on Fellowship in Essential Oils. Vanessa, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for having me. It's been amazing, wonderful. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for the comments, for all the likes, the shares, and all that. Keep that going. That gets our word and the magic of the essential oils out to more and more people as well. Until next week, see you then.
Bye-bye.